What's up, fam? So I just wanted to talk to you, subscribers, and whoever likes to come to my channel, about the election, which is 9 days out to Election Day in the United States, which is where I was born and grew up. And right now, this guy, Elon Musk, who is from South Africa and grew up during apartheid, which it ended in the mid-90s, but it was like the most brutal, racist society, which was like super punishing of people if, depending on the color of your skin. It was like crime to like marry outside of your race, and it was like a hard, way for people to live, and it caused all sorts of problems, obviously. And that is how this guy grew up. He's from this country. I don't know him, but I imagine very likely he's racist. And there's this whole thing in our country right now where white men and white people are very threatened by, mixed people like me and other people that are of different descent than freaking white, right? And they want to oppress us. They want to oppress us. They want to take away our rights. They want to deport people out of the country. And anyway, he's buying votes, in a roundabout, legal maybe way, by having people register to vote and incentivizing it by giving away $1 million a day. He started doing it over, 2 weeks before the election's ending. So, and that smells like buying the election. And he also is just throwing like an extreme amount of money behind the Republican candidate, who is a racist and a sexist and a felon and you name it, like just a con man who is conning people into voting for him, and just having saying the most terrible things that no one's ever like talked like that about our country. So anyway, if the Republican candidate were to get elected, which I don't believe he will, but we have to fight it off because it's this threat that is threatening to take over our country. But if he would like appoint Musk to head this efficiency, economic efficiency committee, which would put him in charge overseeing the people that currently regulate his space, etc. contracts, and where he gets, a lot of grief, but he can cut if he were to be in that new position. He would be in charge, and he would be able to threaten to like cut their budgets and have a lot less regulation, which is supposed to protect the people. Regulation is there to protect the citizens of the democracy. So, and another thing, 45 he wants to be an autocrat. That means that he would have extreme power. He would fire like a ton of government workers that are in place already and continue to make the Supreme Court, more to do his bidding. And like billionaires are actually afraid of this. Like the LA Times, who's owned by Jeff Bezos, and the Washington Post are both owned by billionaires, and they were all set to endorse Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the election, which is a tradition since like the 70s, and they cowered in fear and forced their editorial staff to not make an endorsement and to end the tradition of endorsing a candidate, which is obviously they're just, bowing to their billionaire buddies and afraid, which is, having consequences, because people, like some of their reporters and staff, just quit because they didn't want to work for a newspaper that doesn't have the courage to have opinions about things that really matter to the people, because that's like why they're supposed to be created. and why they're supposed to exist. They're supposed to inform people about things that really affect our lives. So there are 250 million registered voters in the United States. We have the power to shut this down. We have the power to vote for the candidate that is actually was raised by civil rights activists who cares about the people and will work for reform, which we need in the United States. Obviously, we need reform, and she'll work for that with her team, which would be very inclusive, to include people from all sorts of backgrounds. Or, I don't know how, I understand like people's frustration, and I understand feeling, I understand how men can, if they were, they want to take us back and take away our rights to like control our own bodies, and when we decide to have a family, and take away medical options for women and like oppress women. And that is, it's hard to believe that people would be okay with that. But I do understand the frustration. We went through the pandemic and we're recovering from that. There were, positive things that came out of that, to like working remote and all the video conferencing things that exploded, and that's very positive. But also it made things harder for supplies and the supply chain, and made prices go up, and made opportunities for people to take advantage. And I understand people are very busy and they don't have time necessarily to be activists. But we have to pay attention. We can't just let people who have like vested interests and resources take over and make our country into something that would be very different, with much less opportunity, and definitely with a lot more oppression. And I'm saying something about that because buying votes is just indicative of what we're facing right now. We are facing something we've never seen before. We're facing an attempt to take over the democracy, and the chief executive has the executive order power written into their job description, and they don't need Congress to execute policy in the case of the executive order. And 45 used that more than anyone ever used it in history of this in this country. And so we have the power to shut this down. We're also contending with the broken and backward electoral college, which Tim Walz has talked about getting rid of that. And we obviously need reform, but we need it by someone responsible and someone who cares about the workers. The wealth in the United States has just been progressively going to 1% of the people that live here for a while now. And people are frustrated, and they're listening to this con man, and they're resonating with his hateful messages and his angry messages. And I'm telling you, we do not want to burn down the country. We want to have options, and we do not want to live in an autocracy situation. So I urge you to vote for the Democratic candidate, the only one that is in the race that is qualified to lead the country, who is actually, the other guy has a lot of speculation about his mental capacity and his age. He's well over retirement age, and he's talked openly about using the military against citizens that oppose him, and rounding up people and deporting them. These are people who pick fruit and vegetables. I'm not saying the system is perfect, but I'm saying that deporting a bunch of people that live here, it would be chaotic. And another thing that he talks about is taxing every import that will come into this country in the future. He also lies and says that the manufacturing jobs wouldn't exist in Michigan, for example, and there are tons of manufacturing jobs in the electric car industry, because that is the future of the automobile, electric. And so, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. But the main reason why I jumped on here is because I'm deeply concerned about this billionaire using his $249 billion resource to buy our election. We have the power to shut it down. We have the power to shut it down with our vote. So please vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thanks for listening. And I'll leave you with a video from 2016 when I lived in Seattle, and people were very upset when 45 became 45. And just in the spirit of this message, I think that will be a nice little bookend for it. Okay. Have a great holiday season, and let's elect the Democratic candidate and relax, because we know that we are moving forward with options. Peace, y'all.